Welcome back to Creative Questions. On today's episode, we have Jack Harrison. Jack is an animator who leverages old analog video equipment to add a layer of his words, not mine, jankiness to his work. He is also an advocate of stepping away from the computer in a process he calls digital joy. In this episode, we talked about his love for old tech, the highly anticipated GTA 6, and how VR equipment is actually making our digital lives more human. That's so sick. That's so sick. I've never had anyone come with like their own interface. Usually it's just like their laptop camera. And I'm like, cool. I mean, that's cool, but this is like, I love it. Like, I'm so into it.
I'm in control of the graphics now, man. I've hijacked your podcast.
I love it. It's like my favorite, like, because to be honest, I'm like a huge fan of yours. Like, just all the analog stuff, it's all crunchy and grainy and noisy. It's all my favorite things. So I'm so excited to have you here today and kind of talk and have random conversation, which is what I'm about. So, I usually start with like...
Let's go, man. Yeah, thanks
Yeah, for sure. I usually start with like, how's the week been going? What have you been up to? Anything cool?
Yeah, just cranking out some projects. Like, really just in the constant, like, management of all the different projects. I just kind of like... It's something that I had to kind of really come to terms with probably a year ago or so, which was I was really stressed out about my work kind of on a constant basis. Like every single week I was like, okay, this is over here, and I like was trying to like fix it. I was trying to like get rid of that, and instead I just like took a deep breath and was like, this is not going away.
Dang.
This
The franticness,
like
messy
management is not going away. I need to just like accept that this is how it is in this, like, in my work, and then like that acceptance like made it a lot easier. So it's again another week like that where I'm like trying to tell myself how to figure it all out and how to manage it. But yeah, I had two really fun projects. One for this guy Richard Pete. I'm working on his production logo, and he's producing the next A24 movie, which is really exciting. So
okay.
But also insanely intimidating because the logo that I make for his production company is going to be next to that logo, which is like one of the most requested logos I ever get from people. Can you make it look like the A24 one? I'm like, all right, cool. It's a hop, skipping $100,000 logo. Like, no worries. Yeah, so that, and then I was doing some stuff for Kings of Leon as well.
Gosh.
Again, who I've who've become a kind of recurring client. That's nice. Their team is really awesome. So a good week, busy. That's
sick. Yeah, I had that same epiphany this week. My last week, I got so stressed out because I'm freelancing also. So it's like projects over here, over there, and it's just like that franticness just drives me like nuts sometimes. And so last week, I just was like so in it that I ended up getting sick in the middle of the week, like just from stress. And my wife was like, "You could do this a little easier. Yeah, it's still going to be kind of all over the place, but if you did a little bit of organizing, you would be okay." And so I've been like, she gave me some techniques, and I've been using those, and I've been better. And I'm just like, that's crazy.
Super key to like have those few little like ease of life additions to your business. One thing that I started doing that I'm not doing anymore, but I loved, was just like when I had like a few less clients, was just like a piece of paper form that just has all this information on it, and I can just write it on there, because I would have these meetings and I would just forget everything, like, and like I'd be like, I don't remember, but like I fucking always forget, and so I like had just like a sheet that I could just put in this one, and I was buying like used binders at like the thrift store, because I was like, I need a binder, which I've got like a big box full of them, but I eventually shifted that over to now I'm using Notion. Just like it was like, it's a good one. I don't know. I don't want to like start sounding like a fucking Notion ad. So.
There's so many. You're not that. No.
Yeah, that's just like I need a notes app that's connected
for
to the
sure.
internet.
And I use Notion too, and it's nice because you can have it on your desktop or on your phone, and it's like it's nice to be able to be on the go and like write something down. So
it's
yeah.
free. It's insane. I can't believe it's free. I can
Yeah.
shut up. They're not paying me. So gotta get them on a fucking like a sponsorship.
They're gonna be like, they're gonna be knocking at your door after this for sure.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's great to have you. We're gonna kick it off with question number 1.
Okay.
What were you like as a kid? Were you always into old things?
Yeah, I mean, at the time they weren't that old. Is the thing. Like the things that I'm into
sure.
now is what I was into as a kid. We had a little Canon camcorder that my parents bought us, and it was like our favorite thing in the world. Like this, and this was before like any kids had like, we didn't have any devices. We had like the home desktop, and we had this camcorder, and so that was like a toy for us. We would like run around with this thing. It had like a bunch of digital effects built into it, and like there's hours of footage of us just like, all right, going over here to here's a rock, Mr. Rock, just like playing, like filming onto these tapes, probably recording over some like really sentimental memories and stuff. But we're like, no, I want to go record, and this is really important.
Sure.
Yeah, the kind of combination of like that piece of tech, but then also that like home desktop computer, which I loved our computer. It was like an old Dell matching case with the monitor, like CRT monitor. It was great. My dad set it up for us, like all to just have, and like we had with that camera, we got like we needed to buy a FireWire card in order to load the footage on, and then my brother got really into video editing software,
nice.
which we could then add like sound effects onto, and it was like magic. You know, you plug this thing in, and we start just like, oh my god, we can make an action movie in the yard. It was like, so that was like definitely my like awakening for this kind of stuff, and it's been such like a fundamental part of my life ever since I've grown up. Like not only computers, but also just like video technology, being able to just make something in your house was like so accessible. And and so I think like that's something that I really like about the retro gear, is that it's from this era when that didn't exist. And so like it's all this stuff from like the 80s, when like you literally couldn't, if you wanted to film a movie at home, you would have to develop 8mm film and then take it into your house and physically cut it. Like this stuff is new, and like, and just being able to like go and make a home movie was like really new, but like not to me. So I don't really like, I never really had that like appreciation. So kind of over the years I've been like, it's more like an exercise in appreciation for this stuff, because like I truly, it's such a, like a fundamental part of my life. But so yeah, like I'm doing the same shit, but now it's old, and then it was the bleeding edge of like home computing technology.
Yeah, that's so sick, because I didn't think about, sometimes I forget how fast it happened. Like, because we were there.
Yeah.
I remember my mom she brought home an Apple computer, because she was a teacher. So they let them get some Apples for like their family and stuff. She brought home an Apple desktop, and like, we loved that thing. But like, we would jump from there to like cell phones really quickly, like in like no time. So like, to go back and appreciate the things of like that time makes so much sense, because that was advanced technology at the time that it came out. So
absolutely, we've become like really, really like spoiled and like greedy with tech, and it's just all like, I need the newest phone and shit like that. You know, like it's a lot of you're missing a level of appreciation that I think this stuff really sparks.
For sure, yeah. So that's really, even last week you bought a new CRT monitor, and then that was like the excitement that you had for like opening it up and bringing it in and using it for the first time is always so cool to watch. Like, I love it.
These things are like this thing would have been probably like, even that tiny little one I just got was probably like $3,000 or something. And so to be able to pick one of those up for $200 now is like beautiful. Like the amount of engineering that went into this thing and the quality of everything is like a top tier product, and then you just get it for really cheap. I just did all that Kings of Leon stuff on that monitor just because like I wanted to use it. It might not have been the best monitor to use, but I was just like, I'm gonna see if it works.
So, it's so cool. I don't know. I'm just, when I see your stuff, I'm like, this is like you said, an appreciation for the things that like we used to have. And it just, for me, it's nostalgic. There's like a draw to it, and I don't even like I said, it's nostalgia, but you don't realize that you want that when you're here. Like when you get somewhere, you don't realize that you want for what happened before, or like in olden times. So your stuff always reminds me of that, and I'm like, oh, I really do like that look. Like that look is like really nice. So it's so cool. So cool. So my next question, I read somewhere that you went to college for physics, correct?
Yeah.
I've had a couple people on, and it's wild. They're creatives now, but they went to school for something very like sciencey. Like, how do you think you get from being interested in physics and wanting to kind of go in that way to where you are now? How does that happen for people?
You just touch the science schooling system, and I want to know part of it. It it is strict and like cruel and just like, so I did like only about 2 years of the physics program at Concordia in Montreal. I was really into physics in high school. I went to an art school here in Toronto, Rosedale, and dabbled in arts, but like kind of never really like foresaw myself becoming an artist. I was more just like, that's fun. Time to do the hard thing, physics. That's hard, so that's the thing you're supposed to do is harder. And so I had good grades in physics, and so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to university physics. That's like, I'll just start with the hardest thing, and then if I don't like it, then at least everything else seems easier.
I love that. I love that for 18-year-old you, where you're just like, I'll just go do the hardest thing ever.
Yeah, and big ups to that 18-year-old me, because like it's been a fucking nice coast ever since then. Like that was the peak of difficulty for sure. Like, man, like a physics exam is like so precise. Like, sorry, you got one decimal point wrong, you lose. Like, you get a C, you get a D, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, there's no like room for mistakes. And there's also, like, not really a lot of room for creativity, which is fair. You know, these people are building, like, goddamn rocket ships that will explode if you don't put a decimal point in that thing. It makes sense, but in sitting in a room of, like, 80 people, and all of you are writing the exact same question, like, the exact same answers down to the same questions, I was like, this is, like, this is a waste of time. Again, high appreciation for the sciences, and some people like enjoy it a lot more and have a different brain for it. That and my passion for physics very much influenced my kind of like transition into the arts. I really was like baffled by simulation stuff in 3D. That was kind of like my first step into the arts, which was just like, hey, you can push a button and this thing simulates a full like water like simulation, and like it looks incredible, and you didn't have to do any of the actual math. You just told it what math to do, and it did the math, which is like, I was like a breeze for me. And so simultaneously alongside that, I switched my degree to computation arts, which was adjacent to the design program at Concordia, and a lot of that physics stuff was super helpful because I had a baseline in math, and then there was like coding classes that weren't too challenging for me. Never been a great coder, but the math part wasn't like, what's an equation? It was just like the syntax and stuff that was difficult, and so I think like my appreciation for physics and like that trickled into my work. And I also, at around 2016, I picked up a Vive VR headset and like instantly just went like,
your mind was blown.
oh, this exists. Like this is a thing, and that was like one of the first times like tech really made me like blew me away, because like everything before that, maybe the iPod Touch, that was pretty like fun. Amazing, but even so, like it's obvious, it felt obvious. It's like, okay, I can touch the screen now, and it's still interfaces, it's still 2D interfaces, it's still like the computer that I grew up with. And so it didn't really blow me away in the way this did, which I was like really transported, and I did like all my projects in VR through university, just loved virtual reality, and was just like, okay, this is going to be what I'm going to do. This is my future. And so the physics really came into play with that as well, where it was really cool to be able to just like in Unity, which is a software for game development, plop in a cube, turn off gravity, and then go pick up that cube and toss it across the room and watch it just drift off into space. And I was just blown away, because, you know, as a physicist, you're kind of dreaming of the scenario where you get to become like Matthew McConaughey in fucking Interstellar and actually go to space, and that's like the dream, is like spaceman, like, but you got to become a physicist first. And so this is the first time where I was like, hey, I kind of get to experience zero gravity in my living room right now, and I never dreamed that was going to be possible. And I kind of felt like I just like bypassed this whole like huge step there. And obviously it's not the same, but it was enough for me to say like, okay, this is where I'm moving towards. So yeah, I think just more appreciation was the physics for art.
That's so dope. Like, because I feel the same way. I went to college for aerospace engineering, and it was just one of those things that like I did it for a couple years. I graduated and did it for a couple years, and I was like, this kind of sucks. Like this is not what it's hyped up to be. But doing engineering gave me appreciation for like critical thinking and solving problems and solving hard problems. And so it's actually funny because you brought up like taking a test and everyone filling out the same thing. But I always used to try to, like, when I was taking a test in engineering, that's where my creativity kind of shined, because I would take all the equations and see if I could come up with a way to make it all make sense. And so my answer might not be right, but I was trying to get, like, how could I make this logically, how could I make this work? And sometimes it was right. A lot of times it was probably wrong. But I thought of that as like a good exercise of like, how do we start with one thing, kind of know the conditions, and then get to an end that might be closer to right. But
yeah, and I mean, like, if you're logically making those connections instead of just arbitrarily like writing an answer based on what you like machine just pumping out answers, that's like obviously like a more like valuable skill to have going forward. But they also don't reward it. You'll like get a worse grade in that class, even if you show, like, I loved math teachers going in high school that would like give you points for showing your work, and like just like, okay, you made it 90% of the way there, you get a 9 out of 10. You know, like that was like really, that's how it should be taught. And like I had some teachers in university that were like, you got like off a little bit, like 0. Like I got a 1% on one of my math tests, my calculus 2 test, because he gave me the 1% for writing my name, which is just like pure disrespect. Like just because I didn't have any of the answers right, and I like tried to show my work, and you know, like that was a really like dawning moment where I was like, oh, I'm not that good at this.
You're like, I'll take my talents elsewhere.
Yeah, and also this guy's being a dick, and I'm sad about it.
That was the one thing about college that was ridiculous. I'm like, who let these old people have this much power? Like, failed, get out of here. Everybody fails, and it's like, how does this make anybody better when you get to just like dictate how things are supposed to go? But it's probably for other reasons.
I learned too late to go to tutorials and to talk to your TAs more than the teachers. I learned that way too late. Anybody who's starting university with math and physics, just ignore your professor and go to your TA and make homies with them. They are going to probably be a better teacher, and like will hold your hand through the whole thing.
Yep, and in most cases they are the greater. So that exactly. It was, but yeah, in that situation is kind of where I learned like an appreciation for like solving problems. So even in the work we do today, I mean, a lot of it is You have a set of what needs to happen, and you have to solve the problem to get there. So that's why I think it's so interesting that I run into so many people who are like, oh yeah, I'm X science major and now I do creative full time. I don't know. It's just really cool to see that, because maybe we just don't necessarily fit into the way that, like, well, no one probably fits into the way that schooling is done, but it's really cool to see people make their way out. And like, even your journey to where you are now, sick. Like, that's such a cool story.
Yeah, no, I haven't regretted that transferring programs like once.
Yeah.
Definitely had like a moment. I remember talking to one of my friends, and they were like, oh yeah, I was like really struggling whether or not to stay in physics and math, and I took a whole bunch of shrooms, and then I decided to stay in physics and push through and stay in it. And I was like, all right, don't take any shrooms. Like, to myself, I was like, all right, don't try to discover that. They like told me not to do that, and like that was enough information for me to know, like, okay, I probably if I'm really trying to avoid taking this thing that much, then like, you know, I won't even have fun just out of the fear of making a big decision to stay.
Yeah. But no one should give 18-year-olds those, like, that big of a choice. Like, that's a pretty big choice for a kid. And we're just like, oh, this is my life is set now that I did these 4 years in college. And it's like,
no, totally. Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
It's good to keep it fluid.
Okay. Next question. All right, this one's silly. How many times is too many times to go around a roundabout?
One. Because you never really like fully go around, right?
Well, if you miss your turn, you do. Like,
that's too many.
I've done it.
I mean, it's like one's probably like your best case scenario. If you're hitting that 2-part, you probably should not be driving. Everybody makes one mistake, but if you're hitting that
2,
like
3, 4,
if you're getting caught in the loop like Homer from The Simpsons, just trapped in there, then again, yeah.
I've
don't got a lot of roundabouts over here in North America. We got one down in the county where my parents' cottage is, but not a lot here in Toronto
That's
area.
crazy. We have, well, in my area, I can think of like 3 or 4, and they do it here in the state. I feel like they do it here in the States because maybe they're cheaper, and I think they do cause
they're
less.
Better.
Yeah,
I've heard that they're better.
They cause less accidents.
Like that. Yeah, and like they are more efficient too. Like better than like an intersection. Like more people
can go through them.
Move through them. I played this like iPad game. It's called like Mini Motorways or something like that, where you just build highways and
I love that.
It's really funny because like people are like really nerdy about it, and like you get like roundabout like add-ons to put in your city, and everybody's like, the roundabouts do nothing. Don't even put them in. The intersections do nothing. They're just like so critical on this like really like arcadey game, and
that's amazing.
That's definitely
I love that question because it's like, I know I have gotten into a roundabout and I've like freaked out and I'm like, wait, where am I supposed to go? And then sometimes it's hard to tell if it's going like the different ways. So I was like, I wonder if anyone else has this problem. So I guess it's just me.
Fair enough. The one in my county is like one lane, no like merging in the roundabout. It's like 4 turns. It's like in the middle of the country. It's very like, it's not very busy. It's like very straightforward. And so I feel like my experience with it is like, oh, that lovely little roundabout. That's, why would I ever miss my turn? But like, if you're in like a 2-lane one, huge, like I'm not as experienced with that.
You're like yielding. Yeah, it's a mess. So I learned something about Canada here. I feel like. Also, I did not know that you were in Canada. I feel like I just
I'm up in Toronto here.
Like it pops up on me that like people can be from other places. Do you ever feel that sometimes?
Yeah, everybody always thinks I'm in LA or New York, which like makes sense, I guess. Those are the big cities where big things happen.
Well, yeah. Would you ever move from Canada to one of those places?
I'm pretty happy
Nice.
here. I would like New York is cool. I always feel really at home in like Brooklyn. I got some homies there that like I always love to visit. Whenever I go there, I'm like, yeah, I get
Hmm.
it. You know, it's bustling, it's fun. You can kind of walk a lot of places. I love that place. Definitely like don't see myself moving to
Yeah.
LA. Like it's not. I didn't have that same feeling of feeling like at home there, and like London's really cool too. I would definitely move to the UK for like a year or something like that. But I'm pretty set up here in terms of like friends and
Nice.
family, and those things are very important to me. So I wouldn't really like. I'm not one to be like I'm leaving it all behind for like another city. It's like why?
You got to chase the American dream, though, Jack. That's what it's
Yeah.
about. You gotta plant your flag and be. Gotta hustle. That's what we do down here.
Yeah, man, just like Drake,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh, Drake is struggling right now. Um, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. You did the album art for J. Cole's like his EP that he had put out recently, and I was like, "What
Yeah,
the
man, might
heck,
might delete later, dude. And he deleted that one diss track. He did
dude?
it.
How did that come
he,
about?"
he was fully he was really fully ready to do that. Yeah, the producer Simon, he hit me up on like or on Instagram DMs, which like I like literally cannot get a handle on. I like basically only answer
Yeah.
emails, and so eventually he reached out on email, and they were working on a mini series for J. Cole and Drake, and just following their
Oh,
tour.
nice.
And they were filming a lot of stuff on Handycam and wanted to kind of live in that like DVD era. And he thought of me for the retro style kind of titling, which is awesome because that's exactly where I wanted to be when I
Nice.
started out on this thing. I was like, I need to pick a niche. I need to be the guy for one of these things, and so it's awesome when that kind of thing comes up and they think of me immediately. I gave them so many animations. Like I was so excited about
That's
it
dope.
that like I just poured my heart into that, and so probably gave them like 20 or 30 like kind of like three basic ones, but then like 20 or 30 like flavors of all those, and they used one or two of them for the miniseries, and then one day they just hit me up being like, "Hey man, like Cole really likes like this still from one of the animations for the cover art. Like, what do you like? How
That's
much?"
cool.
And I was like, "Oh, I thought you guys already owned that," but like just started throwing like random ass number and like you know I was really
That's dope.
happy and that guy Simon is like really I gotta have his last name on
Yeah.
deck, but big up Simon for finding me for that.
Nah, that is sick. And that's the dream is you find something that you want to do or a niche that you're trying to like go into, and then people start recognizing you for
Yeah,
that. Uh, that feeling's
yeah.
probably incredible. Like, did you?
Yeah, it's where you want to
Yeah,
be.
for sure. Did you have any a different niche before that, or did you feel like more of a generalist before that?
Definitely more of a generalist. My niche before was like
Okay.
VR, like I was saying like before, like that was like what I wanted to be known as. Like I really like saw a lot of potential for the platform and like just kind of like okay, computing will move towards
Hmm.
this. I always saw like VR as like a runaway train because like it's very powerful and like scary and like it's a whole other
For sure.
medium that we're just basically dumping onto society in the way that like a lot of tech just gets
Hmm.
dumped on us like social
For
media and
sure.
stuff without any kind of guardrails or anything like that. But this was one in particular that like felt dangerous in this way that like I wanted to have a hand on like the wheel a little bit to be able to steer it in some way. And so I wanted to get good at that. Then Facebook bought everything up and made it really cringy,
Yep.
and I was just like, I can't talk to anybody about my art without them rolling their
Hmm.
eyes because these like dweebs came in and just made it like the lamest thing ever. Like these nerds who like steal everybody's
Yeah.
information are just like assholes like fucking made this cool thing lame, and so I like kind of pivoted at that point. But we're hopefully seeing a little bit of a resurgence of some cool companies doing stuff with it.
Yeah. It seems like VR is something that I've always like been a little like leery of. I think what you said with Meta is perfect, because the whole idea of living in virtual reality, like living and doing your day in virtual reality, is like that's a lot. Like, so
Yeah, man. How I always saw it is like we're doing it now,
yeah,
but it's like very not natural. Like
fair.
we hunch over our phones and we exist in these like closed off little things, and like we put a lot of attention and like thought and heart into these
For sure.
devices. And I always saw like VR as like a step not more towards technology but more towards human.
Mm,
And like if I'm interacting with somebody right now, I can't even make eye contact
for
with you,
sure. Yeah, that's true.
like, and film, like, but with VR you can both be looking each other in the eyes, and I can like come up and like I don't know, like dab you up and like give you like a
Uh,
handshake, or like you know, like these human interactions that are better for us socially. And like you have body language in VR. I can kind of be like resting, you can, and those things are going to be really beneficial to our minds in the long run, because right now we fill in the gaps with a lot of weird stuff. And so I always saw it as more of a step, even though it's like more
yeah.
technology and more scary. It somehow becomes more human in those moments, in a lot of ways. So like that's kind of my counter argument to VR being worse than what we have now.
Dang, that's fascinating. Cause I mean, they had the Apple put out their new VR headset, and they tried to
Yeah.
implement some of those things, but yes, it's new and they're just not there yet. But I
Yeah.
didn't think of them like that, like bringing more of a human side to these. I mean, like you said, we're already living in kind of virtual reality with what we're doing in life already. So to bring in
Yeah.
those human interactions, dap someone up, give them a hug, like,
Yeah, yeah. It'll never be the same, but this is already not the
eh,
same, and so, and we're doing it, and so it might as well be one more step closer to the real thing. Like, of course, ideally, all of us stop doing this shit and go outside and hang out. Like, that's always an option.
yes, I love that. Cause yeah, dang you. I feel like you completely like opened my mind. I'm a little
I'm
blown.
glad.
No, I love that. Thank you for that. Um, but how do you feel? Do you feel like the future? So is the future more VR, or do we see more augmented reality stuff coming in first? How do you think that transition will go?
Yeah, the AR is like what you need for it to be the thing, like the iPod Touch
For sure.
was. That was the kind of like breakthrough moment for like touchscreens and smartphones that we all have now. Like, you need to be able to like. We're still really far away from that moment where, like, the reason that shit took off is because I was in middle school and some kid came in with an iPod Touch and handed it to me, and I played like Tap Tap Revenge on it and was just like blown away. Like, you can't really like, the headset's got way too many barriers and shit. Like, it needs to be super seamless like that. And so that's like when it'll take off. And it also, like, you need to be able to like look at your homie and be like, yo, do you see
Yeah.
this thing? Like, that's like a necessity for these things to take off, or else it's just like you don't have those moments, those fun moments. And so like the Apple headset's a good like step in the right direction. They've just like set it up so your friend can be like in your space and you look over at them and you've got like those kind of moments, and I can pull in like a virtual object and hand it to off to you. Like, that's the kind of thing that's going to make this thing work. But there's still like $4,000 or something.
It's
Like,
a
it's not,
lot.
it's basically sitting in finally the stage where like what like Palm
Yeah.
Pilots were in like the 90s. We're still a long ways away from this, and I was always super optimistic, being like, just 2 more years until like this thing takes off. And like, I'm way more pessimistic about it, just out of
For
experience.
sure. Like I feel like tech is kind of in a slump, to be honest, right now. It seems like they're really struggling
Yeah.
to find the next thing, or to find that same energy, which is probably impossible at this point. You go through a boom and it kind of bubbles, and that's just the nature of things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So it's interesting to watch. I hope that we get something that is maybe more human, which is nods to you for speaking that into existence, because I didn't even think about that. But that would be better. Like, that's one of my things is like, I feel like we're in a time people are really like separated. People are really like sad and depressed because of it. And it's like, how can we
Yeah.
bring like some humanity and closeness back? I know for me, the things that I do to do that are, I've been trying to make friends. Like I know as a millennial guy, most millennial dudes don't be having friends and they don't be hanging out with them like in real life. So that's been a goal of mine to like
Yeah.
make friends, have them over for dinner, cook them a meal.
Totally, man. Making adult friends is like borderline impossible.
Yes. It's so hard.
My mom had a friend who was like trying to make some friends, and she was asking me and my sister like, how does she make friends as like an adult? She's like 50, blah blah blah, and we're like, I don't know. Like that sounds like a nightmare. I can't figure that out. And you know, we ended up coming up with a few, like, I don't know, like take a drawing class and like try to make some friends there. Like I took improv for a few classes, and I made 2 or 3 friends in that scenario who are like of varying age groups, and like everybody was really nice, and you kind of go get a beer afterward, and if you don't even make a friend with it, you get a lot of social interaction and stuff at the end of the day. So we did land on some stuff that's nice, but it's definitely like an impossible question. Definitely trying to like, always the goal is to like move more away from like tech and do like more human shit.
For sure. My wife always says if she didn't have a business, she would not have social media anymore. Like she would have been moved on from that. So it's something that's kind of got us all in a chokehold because we like it's now we need, but.
Yeah, I need that.
I need that. Yeah, I need that.
And I love it. It allows me to buy weird old camcorders and CRTs and stuff.
It allows me to see people like you who make awesome stuff. So.
Yeah, man. Art is good online. That's definitely the last bastion of social media.
100%. So I would love to kind of see where that continues to go. It seems like, again, it's not appreciated. Like art just seems to be this thing that everybody's like, oh, that's cool to have, but let's capitalize on it. And it's like, nah, man, it is because like, it's great because it exists, and it'd be great to see it exist in a way where it's like actually valued. So that's just my soapbox.
Totally. I'm with you on that, man.
All right. So next question is, in another timeline, what do you think your life would be like?
Yeah. Are you like suggest? Is this like a split in a previous point in my life? I split off into a new timeline, or have I been transported to another era?
It's split. Let's go with the split. I like the split.
It's a split. Okay, this is a split situation. Definitely like either one of those kind of shifting moments. The one being that physics to VR, or the VR to my current animating like profession. I think probably more likely it would have happened during that VR shift. There was like I was working for a company in Montreal. I designed and sold them a game. It was my final project in school, and I planned out the whole game. I did play testing. I built a prototype and play tested, and it was fun. And so I was working as an intern at a company in Montreal, just a small startup team of like 10 or 11 people. And I sat down with the CEO one day and was just like, hey, I've got a game. Like, this is it. It's fun. It was essentially just like, it was right when standalone VR headsets were coming out, like the Quest 1. It actually hadn't come out yet, and I just kind of foresaw an opportunity to basically have like, you could have just 4 people in a large room, and you're just where you are in 3D space. So when I put on the headset and you put on the headset, we're just both standing where we should be. And then they did a few demos showing it at like the Oculus convention the year before the Quest came out. And so that was like very much like, this exists and it will like exist for everybody soon. So like I kind of started designing a game around that idea. And they built it and they launched it, and it was a blast. And then kind of they were selling the game to like VR arcades, and COVID hit, and so VR arcades just plummeted. And they were like, I had like a raise promised and a bunch of money, and they were like, hey, that's all gone. And I was like, see ya. Yeah, my dad they offered me like partnership in the company, and I was like, yeah, okay. And so there was this moment where I was like about to step into that, and then my dad asked me, he was like, do you want to partner with these people? Because that's a completely different game than selling them a design and being an employee of theirs. You can always step away in that scenario. You can't really step away as a partner in the same way. You've got a really big like devotion to these guys. Do you like trust these guys creatively? And I was kind of like, not really. So I kind of stopped and started designing more games, and was planning to do that again and just be like, all right, I'm gonna design another game, build out the game design document, have everything planned out, and then kind of sell that to another startup or another company and try to build it out with them. And was sitting in that stage. And a lot of me, I still like doodle and draw little game designs. I love game design a lot. It's like probably like my most like it's the best medium. It's like video games and 3D like environments. It contains every other medium inside of it. It's completely powerful. You can have a painting in a game. You can have a movie in a game. You can have anything human art piece that we've ever made can exist in those 3D spaces. And so it's literally just it's not quite the same, but it like has a representation of it. And so I really think that like I was close to going more into that. But then my brother's music took off. He's a music producer by the name of The Count.
Oh, that's a dope name.
His beats, it's his shit took off online, and I was kind of always his promo guy. We'd just like whip up like goofy ass green screen videos and stuff, a lot in this kind of vein of like 80s kind of vibe. And I was like, all right, I'll just help him out with this for a little bit, and do some freelance video editing and video work. I'm okay on After Effects and Premiere, so I can kind of make ends meet. And with that, it just kind of kept going up and up. I started to get those like goofy green screen videos looking better. I bought gear like this, nice. And as soon as I bought into that gear stuff, it was just took off. I fell in love with it, and people really fell in love with the output as well. Nice. So I think that was like probably a really, really big shifting moment. And today I would be making more VR games and probably like working at some place designing games. Hopefully as a game designer, because I hate developing. I hate coding, but I love designing games and being a little bit of a creative director. So.
Nice. That's so dope. Yeah, I always think about that question because like I have a bunch of things that I'm into. I feel like I could end up doing anything. There's part of me that feels drawn to like the art of cutting grass. Like there's something about like cutting a nice lawn that I'm like, I could see myself in another timeline where I was really into that. And like that's where
like
my
shrub art or something like that.
Like shrub art, like I'm like that could have been my creative outlet and where I went easily. Just I love that question for that, just that thing, because I think it helps people think of like other things that they might be interested in even now, like that you can take off and go do right now. So
yeah, I mean, like if it sustains you like creatively in the act of doing it, like you really can't go wrong, especially with like weird shit blowing up online all the time. Like I've watched a guy cut a lawn online. He's like trimming up the fucking edges, and it's got like 1 million views, and I'm just like, that's awesome. Like it's sick, you know, like it's good. We should be promoting that kind of
life,
that kind of
creativity. I always think about there's this guy on TikTok that I always watch at the end of the night, Nate the Hoof Guy, and he's always like trimming the.
He's the guy who cuts into the horse's like hooves. Yeah, I've seen those.
I'm like, why is this so satisfying? Like,
that's got to feel really good for the horse. I bet that feels amazing for the horse's foot.
It's crazy. It's crazy how hypnotizing that stuff is. But my next question was about video games. So you're really into video games. What is your highest anticipated game that you're like so stoked to come out?
It's just Grand Theft Auto 6.
That's what I figured.
That's it. That's the peak of gaming, and like it made everything else look bad.
Yes.
After that trailer dropped, I was literally watching other game trailers. We watched like the Sony, me and a few of my friends, Julian and Carter, and my brother all watched like the Sony State of Play last week, and it just like washed over us, man. We're literally just like, what? Like so many like crazy over the top like Japanese games, these guys with swords like fighting giant demons, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I do not care about any of these. There was one cool VR game that in that collection. It's called like Colossus or something.
Okay.
Anyway, that's probably the wrong name, but you're fighting. It's like it looks like Shadow of the Colossus in VR, and it looks awesome. And that was the only thing that I was like, ooh. And that's by Skydance, who's a VR studio who made this really awesome Walking Dead VR game that is like, it's called The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is the worst goddamn name I've ever heard. But it's like top 3 games in VR, and really like set the bar really high, and they're making this, and so really good physics interaction and stuff like that. But yeah, GTA 6 is the best, and like I really think they're gonna try to like blow people away with it. But also just sitting in the anticipation for that game is like my favorite thing to do. Like the 5th one, man, me and my brother, like every day just checking, like it just brings me back to those days of just like every day checking, okay, are there any new details? It's going to be fully destructible environments. It's going to be like just like outlandish claims like every left and right. And like that sitting in that like anticipation is like one of my favorite things to do just in life in general. Like I'll buy that old CRT and be like more excited before it gets there, and just knowing that it's gonna arrive, and then opening it up and getting it booted up, and then it sits in the corner and I don't use it. Like just like that like hype. I love, like I'm just like a hype beast where I just like love fucking the hype, and so we're in peak hype with GTA 6, and so I love just living in that like
that's so dope.
Excitement.
I just remember the first time I played GTA, and I was just like, what is this? Like, and I was, of course, way too young to be playing it, but it was just one of those things where I was like, this is so much fun. This is way more fun than it should be. So it's so cool to...
My brother begged my parents for San Andreas, and they never gave in. And then 4, I think he just like was able to get a copy. Like he was finally, I think it's like 17 here or something in Canada where you can buy it, and like he finally could just buy it, and or like got my sister to buy it or something. And that was like, that was definitely my like first experience with it. And yeah, it really just seems to set the bar every single time. And yeah, I'm super hyped on that in a way that I think like most other games don't really touch.
Oh yeah, and that's just, it just seems like we're like rinse and repeating with a lot of things when it comes to like games and movies and music. So GTA has always kind of set the standard, and you can tell that they put the energy in the work.
It also just like shakes the world in a way that I love. Like literally we're going to see those like news broadcasts again, and it's the same thing every GTA. The people are just going to, like, the regulars who don't understand what's coming are going to be like baffled, because there's just going to be clips of like some guy like holding up a gun to like a woman on the street, and it's like way more realistic. She's like, please no, please don't do it. He's like, and everybody's like, oh my god, you can't have this in a game. No. And so like that's gonna come again, it's gonna be hilarious, and it's the exact same rinse and repeat every single time a new one comes out, and just like blows people away. And I'm not saying that you should be playing that in the game, but it's like it's cool.
It is what it is. It kind of is what it is. Like,
yeah. They don't make you do that stuff, which I think is also really speaks to their game design. Is like good game design is freedom, and good game design is like not restricting in that way. Storytelling is a different thing. You know, they can tell a story in that world however they want, but the sandbox itself should be really free. It's like why games like that do really well, and Minecraft as well. Like games that just like you're allowed to do anything, but you don't like have to. That's like definitely key game design. Sims was like based on a dollhouse. Like Will Wright, the guy who did that, was like, "Ugh, people love playing with dolls and just moving their guy around, like that. That was like the prototype name for it was called the Dollhouse, and so he just tried to make a game that motivated your own internal game. It's like, and once you're
Ah,
leveraging the human brain for games, like you're already winning because like we're really imaginative
already.
animals,
Yeah.
and so like if you can leverage that computer, like your brain's computer to make games, then you're really taking off, rather than just relying on like the regular computer.
Dang. I didn't think about that because me and my brother used to play Sims, and my brother used to do some stupid stuff. And I'm just like, he would like
Right.
build a pool and then take the ladder away. And I'm
Oh,
like,
of course, man. You got to see that Reaper.
yeah, just stupid stuff. But I didn't think about it in that way, where it's just like, you got to kind of let people imagine it, like be imaginative. And then for me, I was like, that's terrible. And so maybe that impacted me to be like, to understand those things a little bit better or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to
Yeah.
do that when you play.
Exactly.
Like, like that's what's cool. Like Will Wright has a really great masterclass
Nice. Okay.
that I watched in that stage of leaving my work with the
Okay.
company in Montreal and then moving into making my own games. I watched that whole series and really really valuable information in general.
Yeah.
Some good books as well. Got one on my wall somewhere.
Nice. I'm gonna have to look
That
into it.
is like called The Theory of Game Design or something like that, and he writes in that as well, and it's really really valuable information for anything similar kind of thing like you were
Yeah.
saying with the sciences and that critical thinking, like the kind of like design of games and getting your head in the space of designing something that's to be used rather than like movies which are just like
Yeah.
solid. You will watch this, it's not going to change. It'll change a little bit, you can interpret it, but like it's like the actual thing is not going to change. It's important to put yourself in a mind space to build stuff that's more fluid like
Yeah,
that.
that's dope. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because that sounds really cool. I always like if you can take yourself and like someone writes something that you have no concept of, and if you can immerse yourself in that and try to understand it, I feel like you grow so much just by because
Yeah.
with game design I have no clue how that works. I like zero idea. Like so that's kind of cool. So our last question, we've made it to the last question, is always something.
Yeah.
The podcast is called Creative Questions, so it's about creativity. So what does creativity mean to you? And this is very open, however you want to answer it.
I guess that's like I would probably lean kind of into my branding, which is Digital
Yeah.
Joy, and like what that is to me, which is like what I learned in being in all these fields and being and pushing different arts as well, like game design, and then moving into graphic design and animation. Um, it's way more important to focus on the process than the final product. Like I think that's the difference between the VR stuff and the animation stuff. I'm not like really big movie guy. I'm not even like a really huge like logo guy, but I really like making them and I really enjoy the process of them. Whereas like I'm way more of like video game guy. I would love to make a game. I want to be like proud of that final product, but as I learned as I was making them, I didn't really like making them
Yeah.
that much. It frustrated me. I like wasn't that good at it. I just would kind of like be like sitting like poring over code for like 4 hours and just be fixing a bug, and I was like, man, like this is like it was draining, and it didn't fuel me in the way that this stuff fuels me in the act of making the art. Like that is how you can continue to keep
For sure.
going and to output valuable work. And your stuff can be bad, I know bad, like all my shit has been bad at the
Yep.
start, but like less focus on the final product and more focus on the process, and you'll be able to get better because you won't get bored. And really, really important in making stuff. And so I just called that digital joy, the act of me building out something and getting up. Like the analog gear was a really funny like addition to it that I never really anticipated this aspect of it being so important. But the physicality of having a knob to twist or like a screen to manipulate, and that was like a really, really important thing that got me out on my feet and away from my
Love
computer and away from that kind of virtual world that we were talking about before that exists only in the phone. And it brought this, spread it out into all these little bits in my studio that I could walk around with and play with and just like have fun. And that's kind of like the key to creativity, is like having fun with the process and not being so worried about the final output. Yeah, and you know, you also got to feed yourself.
True.
And so the kind of the flip side to that is strategy towards making money off this stuff is really important, because if you're not making money off of it, then you're not gonna be able to do it as much. And you know, people have varying levels of how much they want to do these kinds of things. Like you're saying, the lawn mowing thing might be something you enjoy for those few hours a week, but maybe if you did it every day, you would hate it, and that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be your full-time job. Personally, this stuff, I'm very happy with it being my full-time job. I really do like giving it 8 hours a day of just full attention. And so I'll just kind of quote my dad, which is he's like a management consultant, and it's the reason why me and my brother are able to do our arts professionally, which is just like a few little key questions he would ask. He doesn't know about animation, he doesn't know about music production, but he just sits us down at the start of these things when I say I want to be a freelance animator. He says, all right, like, how do we get from here to money? And that's his, like, one of his catchphrases, which is like stupidly simple, but we sit down at the big Bristol board and we write out here and we write down money over here, and you plan out exactly how you get there. With the game design stuff, it was writing game design documents, presenting them to companies with a plan for how to break it all down and to develop it through them, and asking them for money for that. And that was how you get to money. And for this, it was, all right, I help Cole with his stuff. I put out a lot of work. I try to make something on Instagram every day and show off what I'm made of. And then I take commissions for the work. And for my brother, it was make sample packs. I'll make beat videos online, and I'll say, you can use these drums in your songs. If you're not a good drummer, you can buy this drum loop and lay your pianos on top of it, and that's fully yours. You can own that, and that could be in your song. That's how he makes his money. He doesn't make it with streaming songs. You don't make money in that. Like there's you got to get a little creative in that strategic time at the beginning, and so that's another part of creativity for me, and just that allows more freedom. Is if I can pay my bills and be fed, then I can not think about that stuff and think about the logo I'm animating or something like that, and or the new cool piece of gear. So freedom is super, super key, and strategizing is part of that freedom.
Dang, that was perfect. There's nothing to add to that. I just want to say, like, hats off to your dad. My dad isn't, like, he just doesn't have the mind for it. So it's really cool to have a dad who could be like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Like, how do we figure it out? And I'm sure that's, like, very empowering, because you can, to pretty much go from nothing to something and know that you have that ability is very, empowering as a child of someone. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Big ups my dad and my mom for also just, like, buying me random shit that I could play with, like that camcorder when we were kids. Like, that kind of purchase is like, and again, with like tech these days, it's like all seen as so like bad. Like, don't buy your kid an iPad, don't buy your kid this phone, don't do this. And it's like, why not? Like, let them like draw on
For
there.
sure.
Like, it's a cool thing. Like, don't let them like you can control a little bit of what they do on those things, or buy them an old camcorder. They'll love it. It's fun, and you can't go on the internet and you can't do those bad things, but it's still a cool, creative little toy. I think like they were really optimistic about just like letting us try other stuff and dropping stuff as well, like dropping the physics or dropping VR and not being like, you need to finish what you started. Just, no, you want to do this now? Cool. How do we do it? What do you need?
Awesome.
Kind of thing. Like that's like this it's the reason why I'm here.
That's awesome. Hey, I'm very happy for you. I'm very appreciative and a fan. I'll always support the stuff that you make because it's really cool. Where can people find you on the internet? Is it usually my next question?
Yeah, just Mr. Jackio on Instagram, and that's like pretty much it right now. On TikTok as well, but I've not really been posted on there. Yeah, like I'll keep doing updates on there and talking about what I'm working on, and that's me in the internet.
Nice. Is there anything you want to promote? Is there anything that you're excited about that you're making or your brother's making?
I guess going forward, my brother's making a really awesome album right now. It's called Easy to Get Where You're Going, and it's supposed to drop in October, but there's a lot of riff-raff there. Got some really, really awesome features on there. I'm working heavily on that, so all the promotion for that you see for his stuff, who's the Count on Instagram,
I'm gonna have to check him out.
Count Cole is the @ I think, and yeah, that's going to be really, really fun, and lots of creative freedom on that. So anything I put out with that is all from my heart and like truly our work. Whereas a lot of the other stuff is for other people. That's for me and him. So that's definitely what I'm most excited about right now.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to follow him. I want to see that stuff because I think it's gonna be cool. So,
man, it's fire beats, man. You won't be disappointed.
But I appreciate you being here, Jack. This is a great conversation. We did the full hour.
Yeah,
it's easy.
My first podcast, dude. I'm happy that it was you.
Bro, I can't believe that was another thing. You're like, yeah, I've never done a podcast before. What?
I had one other one where I went to it and they didn't show up, and I was like, and I set aside all the time and set up all the cameras and shit like this, and was like, all right, never mind. And then they're like, oh, we could reschedule. And I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. It's a very thin line. Even like the 5 minutes of technical like back and forth we had at the beginning, I was like, here we go again. But no, that was totally like understandable. And you were on time, and we were both just that's just the internet shit, you know, like nothing. I appreciate your respect for my time, and you know, obviously like. I have the same for you, and I'm excited to play some more episodes of the podcast going forward and see who else was running their mouth on this.
For sure. Yeah. Again, thank you, Jack. We will talk soon.
All right.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Creative Questions. Like, comment, or subscribe to allow us to keep making more episodes. I appreciate you for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.